DJ. You took me straight back to my childhood. My dad used to play this on 7-inch, man. Real. The whole world, you know. I learned from it.
What does it mean to be resilient, unstoppable, and talented? In Nottingham, countless black individuals are making waves in writing, cooking, sports, dance, music production, and beyond. And it's time that the world sees their brilliance. Hi, I'm David Brennan Robinson, and welcome to Black and Gifted. In this series, we're shining a spotlight on the extraordinary black talent based within the Nottingham community, celebrating their journey, their craft, and their unmatched passion. Stay with us as we uncover their stories, their struggles, and the magic that they bring to the world every single day. You won't want to miss what we have in store. So let's dive right in. Sit back and enjoy.
Creativity knows no bounds, and FIONA McGowan is proof of that. As a creative writer from Nottingham, she has mastered the art of weaving words into stories that resonate, inspire, and ignite the imagination. From crafting heartfelt short stories to writing vivid poetry that captures the essence of life, FIONA McGowan brings her unique voice to everything she creates. Today we'll explore her journey, what fuels her passion for storytelling, the challenges she has faced, and the dreams she is chasing. Get ready to meet the remarkable talent who is redefining creative expression through the power of words.
Yeah, continuing on from the interview as we had to move destinations. So Fiona, can you describe a piece of work that holds a special place in your heart?
I've got a particular poem that I wrote in memory of my mom. We had the opportunity to write on the theme of elegies, and so in memory of her, I wrote a poem called Sunsets in Spring, which was like the idea of like sunsets being like the ending, but also an ending being a new start, and with spring being the time that she passed. I basically just wrote about the season, renewal, and the experience of like missing her in her absence and that kind of stuff. So that probably is the poem that holds the most importance that I've written so far. I also worked on a project that was a collection of epistolary poems, where I kind of used the theme of relationships and set it around a couple that had been separated due to distance. So the man being in Jamaica, the female being in the UK, and kind of did a back and forth of like the issues the guy was experiencing in Jamaica, being that he was a Rastafarian and a target by the police and that kind of stuff. And then the female being in the UK during COVID, working in the NHS, and her experience being here, and them basically passing letters between each other discussing the topics, because that was quite current at the time that I was writing the collection. So that also is quite significant, because I was able to explore a lot of cultural differences and traditions and stuff like that.
Oh, that's kind of powerful still. Concerning that poem, what would you like to make a video with it?
Which one?
The letter one that you're just talking about.
Yeah, so like, I haven't fully explored it. I wrote the the collection a while back, and I kind of wrote a backstory so that it would give me a bit more context to work with in terms of how I was gonna have the letters going back and forth. So in my mind, I have like a vision of a script as well. I just haven't written it. But there's a synopsis, so it can be developed.
Let's bring that to life. We need to bring that to life. Yeah. Sorry, that's what I'm dep on at the moment with everybody that, like, when I hear something powerful, I'm like, no, let's bring that to life.
Yeah. I think in terms of my development, I do want a lot of my work to be visual because I do picture it as visual before it becomes written. Even like in my script writing, the feedback that I used to get back from one of my lecturers is that I write like a director because I do picture how the camera moves in order to be able to describe the scene descriptions. So, yeah, I don't just write to write, I write because I have further developments in mind. It's just that I don't have the skills yet to develop them myself. I need a team.
I don't know how you could answer this one, but how do you measure success in your writing endeavours?
I think if I can get from the point of having an idea to having something in written form that I can then transfer to somebody else for them to read, and they get an understanding of where I'm going with it, that's successful. Because if you can come back and say to me, I identified this theme, and this made me think about this, and that's the mind map that I had in my head when I was going through my process, then that to me is successful, because in everything I do, there's a message. And if the message is received, that's successful. That's the whole purpose, isn't it?
Okay. What messages or themes do you aim to convey through your writing?
I think at the forefront of it all, it's like the universal connections. So what I experience is something you can experience, and it might not be identical, but there's going to be some parallels, which means that I can empathize with you and I can probably understand what you've gone through. And that's what connects us as humans. So it's the connectivity. And then also representation. We live in a multicultural society, and in order for us to coexist and coexist well, and to eradicate all the foolishness that's going on amongst the differences, if we can be positive in the differences and celebrate the differences, then it kind of dilutes all the other stuff that aims to counteract it. So yeah, positive influence, especially for the young people coming up, because not everyone has a positive role model, because there's maybe not access to a positive role model. But if enough of us are in public spaces and being represented in media, then there's more of a chance for accessibility.
So, threw me off, man. Okay, so how do you balance your personal life with the demands of being a writer?
I think they are one and the same. I consider all my experiences a contribution to my thought processes, and therefore a contribution to my creativity. So I don't separate my personal life necessarily from my writing experience. My writing is work. My writing is self-expression. My writing is a representation of my family, of my culture, of who I want to be perceived as in the community. And so therefore, there's not much of a separation. It all works collectively together. Yeah. If that answers the question.
Yeah. So, being the humble person who you are, what advice would you give to young Black writers who are just starting out?
Experiment. Experiment with your ideas, experiment with different genres, experiment with different writing styles, different themes. If it's an idea in your head or it's an idea you've seen, attempt it. Don't restrict yourself, because when I started out creative writing, I was only writing poetry. When I started studying poetry, I had the opportunity to then venture into different genres. So I did a bit of animation, graphic novels, screenwriting, and I found that my writing ability didn't stop at poetry. And in fact, I was stronger probably in other areas. And that I could merge them to create something even more creative than I had initially thought when I probably started with an idea. So just experiment, try everything.
I like that. Experiment. Like, it's, when you say an experiment, what you're saying, just don't have no boundaries. Just go above and beyond like what you think you're capable of.
Yeah.
Push yourself.
Yeah.
Instead of, how can I put it? Yeah, push yourself instead of just like watching everybody else push themselves and fly and succeed, when you know that you can spread your wings and fly even further.
Yeah. So like when I started out, I was just writing thoughts. Thoughts in rhyme in like my phone at one point. I think in the very early stages, obviously a notebook, like in my bedroom, in a notebook, just writing down my thoughts and feelings. And from that, now I'm writing scripts. Like for my dissertation, I wrote a feature film. Never at one point in my journey when I started out writing just little thoughts and ideas in my little notebook that I never shared with anyone, did I think I'd then go on to write a feature film. But that's because I took the risk. I saw the challenge and I took the challenge, and yeah, ended up achieving that. Completing
your script. Mm-hmm. What was the feeling that you had when you completed it?
It's hard to explain because it's just.
All right. When your script got recognised, what feeling did you?
It's validation.
Yeah.
Validation, knowing that I was just trying it, but then to do a few pages and think, oh, actually, I've got the hang of like the format, and then to give that to someone and get feedback, and they're like, yeah, you've done it right. This, I'm feeling this. I'm getting the mood you're trying to create here. I can see the relationships that are forming here. I can identify with this character, and then you're like, just a little seed that started in my mind is now coming into fruition, and people get it. Like, it makes it worthwhile, the time and effort that you put in. And then knowing that it can go on to have an impact on a wider audience, potentially, it just makes you want to do more. And it generates more ideas. So, for example, after I wrote that feature film, I was like, do you know what? Now I'm going to start reading up and figure out how I can develop this into a TV series. So that is my next, that's my next project. But yeah, it's like start, because if you don't start, you don't know what you will be able to achieve. And once you achieve that, what that might spark in terms of the ideas moving forward. But you have to start.
So, how do you stay true to yourself and your values in an industry that we all know is challenging?
I think it starts with having a strong sense of values. Sitting with yourself and thinking about what is important to me, what message am I trying to portray? If people don't get it, how I'm going to feel, how am I going to handle that? And how am I going to encourage myself to keep pushing forwards? Because obviously, like, I'm a startup writer at this point. I haven't got that much out published, and that could be discouraging, but I'm choosing to persist because I believe that the impact, once it does get some recognition, whether it's big or small, is bigger than my fears. If I was reduced to my fears, I would have never started. And even in just the small group, in terms of the group that I did my courses with, having that exposure and the feedback that I received from that let me know that there is a need. My work has purpose, and it needs to be created in order to be positioned in the right places. So yeah, it goes back to like accessibility and representation. Yeah. I think I deviated a bit. But...
How do you engage with the literary community and your readers? Like,
so in terms of my readership, I don't know who my readership are as yet, because I haven't had enough work put out. But obviously, like, I'm hoping that will grow over time. But what I have been doing since I finished my degree is putting myself in creative spaces. So attending open mic nights, going to poetry workshops, and the spaces where I know that there are like-minded people. My hope is to gain confidence in performing my poetry. And so I'm going there and I'm taking note of people that are already doing it, familiarizing myself with them, allowing them to meet me, and knowing. And I think vocalizing my goals holds me accountable. And in saying that, I attended an open mic, was it 2 weeks ago? And the only people that ever really know the fullness of my goals are my daughters. And so when we attended this open mic, in fact, backtrack a little bit, we went to a performance and there was a lady there, shout out Davina Songbird. She had a group of ladies doing a performance with her. And the whole night I felt like I was like being like spoken directly to. She was like, if there's anyone in the audience that like is thinking about getting into performing or whatever, speak to me after the show. And I'm like battling with myself because I'm like, I know this is a goal, and my kids are looking at me while she's talking, and I'm like nervous at this point because I know like I need to. And then what happened was I kind of said, like, if the opportunity arrives as I'm walking out, I'll speak to her. So we kind of waited, but then we were ushered out because they needed to close the building. But then what happened was my daughters decided that they wanted to wait to speak to one of the other singers. They ambushed me, basically, and waited for Davina to come out. And they were like, my mom, she's like a writer, she can sing and she wants to get back into singing and performing the poetry and stuff. Like, will you speak to her? So I'm waiting for them. And then she comes out and she's like, oh, are you FIONA?
Put it on your toes.
So she was like, I'm having an open mic in a couple of weeks, come, just get a feel for it. And so I attended. And then Destiny, my oldest, she was like, Mom, perform. And I was like, no, didn't come here for that. Came here to watch everyone else perform. So she was like, okay, if I read a poem, then if I can do it, you can do it. Banged it on my toes. And so she performs. Obviously, at that point, I'm full of pride. She's holding me accountable. I got Chennai in my yard. She's like, Mom, you're always the one that's like, feel the fear and do it anyway. So I ended up
practice what you
reading
preach.
a poem and singing a song. But yeah, I say that to say that if I didn't put myself in that space, I wouldn't have had to overcome that challenge.
Yeah.
And it was liberating to do that. As scared as I was, as shaky as my voice was, I overcame the hurdle. And having done it once means that now in my mind now knows I can overcome it again.
It's like the phoenix rising from the ashes.
Right.
Once it's up there, you ain't putting it back.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing I try to be is integral. So if I say like they knew if they put me in a position where they're like, Mom, you said, then I wouldn't be able to back off. So yeah. Yeah, be true to yourself in the respect that if you set yourself a challenge, push yourself. It may take like it. I haven't sang, and I think I would like publicly outside of like a funeral or something like that. Probably for about around 14, 16 years, something like that. So to do that in front of like complete strangers was like...
Did that fire in your belly get reignited?
A little bit. I mean, I don't know what was the fire in my belly as opposed to the nerves in my whole body, but like, definitely like the feedback that I got back was like so positive and so encouraging that like I can't afford to like crawl back in my shell and like not and keep my gift to myself. I think a lot of even like I do like a lot of like personal development reading and self-help, that kind of stuff, and I think I'm really being called to like stop keeping my gift to myself. I keep like writing stuff and then lock it in a book, and like so this year I've made myself a creative timetable where like I'm being active on social media. If anything, if nothing else, I'm putting stuff out on social media, whether it's like I'm trying this TikTok thing now. So like trying to create little videos, and then even like the trailer that I did with Destiny, like shadowing her so that I can see her creative process and how I can take tips from what she's doing to make my own videos for my poetry, because that's what I really want to work on next. Is also, yeah, just constantly staying in the mindset of create something and put something out on a weekly basis if possible.
So, what role do you think literature plays in addressing social issues and promoting change?
Literature is everywhere, and if you're looking for it and you're eager to learn, there's no excuse for you not to. I think whatever you're interested in, literature provides that information, provides that access to that information. So I think that outside of libraries, it needs to probably be more accessible in different spaces. But I see that one thing that I've learned about Nottingham is that they strive to do that. Like whether it's through the universities or in the community, there's always something for people to access in terms of literature. Nottingham is a city of literature. And so, yeah, whatever you're looking for, you should be sure to find it. We're in a day and age where we have social media and technology is at the end of everyone's hand. So I think it's easier, more so than ever before, to read and be informed.
And with our final question, this is aimed at you. How do you stay motivated and inspired in your writing practice?
I think from the very beginning, it was being a mom. Being a mom, being a sister, being a friend, and being intentional. So I know that there's things that I've had to learn through life experience that I wouldn't necessarily want my kids to learn through life experience or my friends to learn through experience. But if there is a story about it in the media or a story that a friend you can share with a friend through conversation, the power is in the story. And so as long as the story is being told, people are being edified. And that's where I have to make sure that I'm continuously creating, because I just don't know. In a conversation, I just don't know. In as small as an interaction is with someone that you pass in the street, you just don't know what they are taking away from that encounter. And I don't believe anything happens by chance. I don't think everything happens for a reason. And so therefore, I believe whoever you encounter, whatever encounter you have with them is purposeful, and that someone will benefit from having a conversation with you, from reading your work, from seeing how you portray yourself in the community or whatever the case may be. And that for me started with being a mom, because I wanted to be a positive example to my children and for my children to be a positive example amongst their peers. And so yeah, I think central to that, I don't as a mom, I think it's important for me to like look at children in their innocence, and like they're very impressionable. Children are very impressionable, so they learn a lot through observation. And if I can do it, then I'm hoping that there are young children, especially being a black girl who didn't have that example, black girls, to see an example in me that if you want to create. When I was young, I was trying to pursue. It wasn't even like I was actively trying to pursue being a creative. It was just in me. Everything I did, like singing, writing, I was in like performing arts in church, in school, whatever I was doing was creative. But I wasn't always encouraged to pursue that, because it was like, well, what career are you going to be able to do? So aim to be a doctor, aim to be a lawyer. Well, no, I think it was meant for me to be a creative. I wake up every morning, it's all I think about. So for the little girl or the little boy that doesn't get that encouragement anywhere else, if you can see other people in the community, in your local community, doing the things that you want to do, it makes it possible for you to think, I can do it too.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to say thank you for the interview. It's been a pleasure. It's actually been eye-opening for me. Although we know each other, family and all that, I didn't know half of the stuff that you showed me.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been proper eye-opening, and I hope that other people who get a chance to watch or even listen take on board everything you've been saying.
Yeah. Well,
thank you very much.
Thank you for giving me the space to do it.
No, man, we need more of these things to happen.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we need more people just to collaborate with each other. Collaborate and let's get it out there.
Yeah.
Because, like for me right about now, my project is to put, Nottingham's already on the map, but I want to add my little input.
Yeah.
So this is my input.
Martin didn't care if Bob didn't sing no songs. If Rosa Parks said, alright then, sorry about that, I move along. If Nelson didn't keep determined, Gandhi got weak when they tried to treat his people like vermin. They were gifted, they were blessed, courageous and brave. I'm not here to talk about every rapper on stage. We got so much potential, my pants feel so raised. When I think about the talent we got locked up in cage, I bet you don't fall in the gap.